Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the International Military Student Division, in partnership with the Command and General Staff College and Army University, thank you for joining us this evening for our second presentation in the Know Your World Cultural Engagement Series for the class of 2024. At this time, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you our partner from the Lebanese Armed Forces 1st Intervention Force Regiment, Air Assault, Major Georgios Mahwad. This is Know Your World, Lebanon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor and pleasure tonight to introduce my small country to all of you here from all over the world. My agenda for this briefing will be as such. But first, allow me to start with a 2-minute video as an intro. Lebanon is the real name of Lebanon in the Aramaic language, the spoken language of Jesus Christ, which means the heart of God. Lebanon is the oldest country name in the world. It's over 4,000 years old. And here's a verse from the Old Testament Bible dated 1,500 before Christ, which says, "The righteous shall flourish like palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon." And that's only one time among other 70 times where Lebanon was mentioned in it. The red color of our flag depicts the blood and sacrifices of our ancestors. The white color depicts the snow of our mountains, and obviously the cedar tree in the center represent the authenticity and rootedness in land and history. The religious affiliation are 27% Muslim Shia, 27% Muslim Sunni, 21% Maronite, and that's an Eastern Rite Roman Catholics, which is by the Constitution the religion of the President of the Republic and the Armed Forces Chief of Staff. Glad to be one of them. It's just a common joke about Maronite army officers. And then 8% are Greek Orthodox, 5% Greek Catholics, and 5% Druze. Moving to geography, Lebanon is located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, in between Africa, Europe, and Asia. If we zoom in, Syria is to our north and east. To the south, we have Palestine and Israel. And Beirut is the capital. We have 4 geographical regions within the country. The first, to the west, is the coastal strip with 210 kilometers along the shore to the west. Then the western mountain chain that extends from 300-meter height to the highest peak, the Black Peak, with 3,088 meters above sea level. And in the interior, we have the Bekaa Valley, where most of the agriculture industries are located. And this picture shows the Bekaa overlooking the western mountain. And to the eastern part, we have the eastern mountain chain. Surprisingly, Lebanon is the only Arabic and Middle Eastern countries without any desert. Lebanon's area is about 4,000 square miles. It's 21 times smaller than Kansas State, with 82,000 square miles. You can compare to Connecticut area with almost 5,000 square miles. For instance, it will take you 3 hours to cross Lebanon from north to south with 150 miles, but still depending on the traffic when crossing Beirut in the middle. However, you need 7 hours to cross Kansas State from east to west. The first tip that comes to mind here is that driving within the Beirut region could be a bad idea due to traffic congestion and crazy driving people as well. And you might spend like 3 or 4 hours within nearly 30 to 40 miles around Beirut. This slide shows the Lebanese diaspora all over the globe. More than 12 million are distributed around the world. For example, just in the US, there are approximately 2.3 million, whereas the Lebanese population is around 5 million citizens. Speaking about Lebanese immigration, even in Wichita, Kansas, when we went to the cow town of Mr. Bourne and his gang, I accidentally saw this book in the gift shop telling the story of a Lebanese family who arrived here more than 100 years ago, got settled, and established their own business. My apologies to my friend from Spain and Mexico. Shakira and Salma Hayek are examples of Lebanese origin celebrities. An example of the creativity and brilliance of the Lebanese immigrants throughout the years. Gibran Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese American writer and poet, his book, The Prophet, was considered one of the most translated books in history, as well one of the best-selling books in all time. Amin Maalouf, Lebanese French writer, who was assigned last month to the head of the French Academy Language Watchdog. No offense, mon ami Louis, c'est par compétence. The third picture is for Hassan Kamel Sabbah, a Lebanese-American scientist who had innovation in television transmission and solar power. And here also a list of Lebanese people who led nations other than Lebanon, mostly in Southern America. Ironically, Lebanon hasn't had a president since October of last year. Now moving to history. This slide shows a list of the oldest inhabited cities in the world, including 4 from Lebanon. And Byblos is the oldest with 7,000 years. The first traces of settlement in Lebanon dated back more than 7,000 years, and we have been occupied by at least 16 other countries. First, the Canaanites lived there, in the 15th century before Christ. Then came the Phoenicians from 1,500 years before Christ to 300 years before. And the majority of the Lebanese population still consider themselves descendants of the Phoenicians. As this picture shows, they loved to travel overseas and establish cities all over the Mediterranean. Here is a picture of Byblos, where the first written alphabet in history came from, because of Cadmus, the Phoenician. And then came the Romans from 300 years before Christ to the 7th century. And those pictures show also some of the temples and remains of that era. Then the Arab rule from 7th to 11th century. After that came the Crusaders from 11th to 12th century. And every picture shows the remains from that period of time. Then the Mamluk until the 16th century, followed by the Ottoman Empire until 1920. After World War I, here I want to mention the famine that the Lebanese suffered during that war because of the siege that the Ottomans imposed, where a third of the population was dead because of that siege. After that, we were controlled by the French until 1943, when we got our independence. From 1943 to 1973, that was called the Golden Era. In short, Lebanon was the Switzerland of the East, and Beirut was the Paris of Middle East. Lebanon was a regional financial center, a hub for stability, financial secrecy, and a free market economy. It's only natural to be shocked to learn that Lebanon used to give loans to nations and organizations like India, the World Bank, and even Canada. The region's top universities and hospitals were in Beirut, and its streets were a hub for the finest hotels, art, fashion, and entertainment. Unfortunately, we had to suffer a civil war from 1975 until 1990. The main reason for it was the Lebanese people were divided because of the Palestinian cause, where most of the Muslims back then backed their legitimacy for holding arms within the country in order to fight Israel, unlike the Christians that refused it. And that bus in the picture was the trigger that initiated the civil war. This bus was passing by a street in a Christian region, having on board Palestinians with some armed men in it, a thing that citizens in the area couldn't bear, and a confrontation occurred, and people were killed from both sides, which caused the ignition of the civil war. Then an Israeli invasion of the south of the country took place from 1982 until 2000, and they withdrew due to the Security Council Resolution 425. Simultaneously, Syrian forces' presence from 1990 until 2005, and they wouldn't withdraw until more than 1.5 million Lebanese people went into the streets of Beirut protesting what was called later the Cedars Revolution, and forcing the Syrian out of the country after accusing Syria for the assassination of our Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. Before we move into politics, let's see the winter version video of Lebanon.